on with the first chapter, that is reproduction in organisms. So today we are going to study about events in sexual reproduction. So in the last class we studied that sexually reproducing organisms, okay, even though they may differ in morphology, physiology, internal structure and everything, but the pattern what they follow, the process what happens during sexual reproduction remains the same. Okay, so we studied that in the previous class. So when we say sexual reproduction, all of you know that what are the different events which take place there. You know, there is formation of male and female gametes, then fusion of these gametes to form a single cell structure called as zygote, okay, and zygote will develop into embryo, into a new organism. So this is, as I told, it's a very elaborate process, a very complex process. Okay, so for our convenience, what we do is we study the whole process, okay, under 3 stages. So we are dividing the whole process of or the events which takes place in sexual reproduction into 3 stages. So what are those 3 stages? We say we divide it into pre-fertilization events, then fertilization, then post-fertilization events. And the last one, post-fertilization events. Okay, so the whole process of sexual reproduction, we are dividing it into 3 stages: pre-fertilization events, fertilization and post-fertilization events. So in sexual reproduction, one main event which takes place is fertilization, that is the fusion of male and female gametes. So all the events which takes place prior to or before fertilization, we put it under pre-fertilization events. This is the main event, that is fertilization, and all the events which takes place after fertilization, we put it under post-fertilization events. Okay, so now one by one we have to study. So first we will concentrate on the first stage, that is pre-fertilization events. Okay, so first we will study about pre-fertilization events. Okay, so I told you what is pre-fertilization events. So all the process which takes place before fertilization, we study under pre-fertilization events. Now, before fertilization, that is under pre-fertilization events, we are going to study 2 processes. Okay, so the first one is gametogenesis. Okay, so that is the first event which takes place, and the second one is gamete transfer. Okay, so under pre-fertilization events, we are going to study 2 things. One is gametogenesis and the next stage is gamete transfer. So these 2 things we are going to study under pre-fertilization events. So under pre-fertilization events, first we are going to study about gametogenesis. Okay, so what is gametogenesis? It is the process of formation of male and female gametes. Okay, so the process of formation of these gametes, that is male gamete and the female gamete, we call it as gametogenesis. Okay, and one thing you should always remember, that gametes are always haploid. Okay, so gametes are always haploid, and the process of formation of these gametes, male gamete and the female gamete, we call it as gametogenesis. Now, in certain plants and in animals, when we study the gametes, okay, in certain plants, we see that the gametes, the male gamete and the female gamete, they are morphologically similar. We cannot differentiate between male gamete and the female gamete. Okay, so in appearance they are totally similar to each other, male and female gametes. So when that is a condition, we call those gametes as homogametes. So homogametes are gametes which are morphologically similar. Male gamete and female gamete are morphologically similar. So here you can see two gametes. One is male, one is female. Okay, but in appearance we cannot make out which is male and which is female. So this is the gametes of an algae called as Cladophora. Okay, so example, Cladophora, this is an algae which is producing homogametes. Now you can see the other type, that is, in certain organisms, you can very clearly differentiate between male gamete and the female gamete. That is, in their appearance, okay, itself, you can make out which is a female gamete and which is a male gamete. So here you can see, this is a female gamete and this is a male gamete. So morphologically they are dissimilar. They are totally different from each other. Then this type of gametes, we call them as heterogametes. Homogametes can also be called as isogametes. Okay, so heterogametes are gametes which are morphologically dissimilar. So the example what you are seeing here, see here you can easily make out which is male gamete and which is female gamete. So this is example algae called as fucus. So these are the gametes of an algae fucus where it shows the heterogametes. Okay, so these terms you need to remember, homogametes and heterogametes. So after that, we are moving on to study about the sexuality in organisms. So we know gametes are produced. Now when gametes are produced, in the beginning itself we have told that it may be from the same parent or from two different individuals of opposite sex. Okay, so about all that we will study now, that is the sexuality in organisms. So first we will concentrate on plants. Okay, so in plants there are some terms which we use to express the sexuality of the plant or even to say about the flower. Okay, now first we will see bisexual, monoecious or homothalic. Now what is the meaning of these terms? Now when plants has both male and female reproductive structure in the same plant, then this is a term we use. We can either use bisexual or monoecious or homothalic. So generally we higher plants, we use this term bisexual, or we can also say monoecious. So it means a plant or a flower which contains both male and female reproductive structure. So both are present on the same plant. Then the term what we use is bisexual or monoecious. Now you see another term here, homothalic. Now all of you can just recall, we use the word thallus. So where do we use the word thallus? If you just recall your previous year syllabus, okay, when we speak about fungi, when we speak about algae, lower forms of algae, even bryophytes, okay, the lower forms we use the term thallus. Okay, so in those plants or organisms, when this is a condition where both male and female reproductive structure on the same plant, then we use the word homothallus. Okay, so example for this: hibiscus, coconut. Okay, so hibiscus flower, all of you would have seen hibiscus flower. So that one single flower has both male and female reproductive structures. Okay, and even coconut also. Then these are the terms we use to express the sexuality of the plant. Then there you can see some other terms here: unisexual, dioecious, heterothalic. Now, when plants has any one reproductive structure, they may have either only female flowers or it may have only male flowers. Okay, then this is the term we use: unisexual, dioecious, or we can use heterothalic for the lower forms. So it may either, as I told, it may either have only male flowers. Okay, so you should know another term here. So a flower which contains only the male reproductive structure. Okay, then we also see female flower means a flower which has only the female reproductive structure. See, just compare here. I told you in hibiscus a single flower has both the reproductive structures, whereas here you will see, okay, the flower has only one, either male reproductive structure or the female reproductive structure. Now, if you see here, as I told, male flower and female flower, there is a term which we use for this. Male flowers are called staminate flower and the female flower is called as pistillate flower. Okay, so this can be a 1 mark question. What are staminate and pistillate flower? So of male flower which has only the male reproductive structure, and here the flower which has only the female reproductive structure, then we call it as pistillate flower. Okay, so that is about the sexuality in plants. Now we'll study about the sexuality in animals. Now let's study about sexuality in animals. Now in animals, you see we use almost the same terms, that is unisexual or dioecious. So here we are not using the term homothalic or heterothalic, because you know thallus is a term we use only for plants. Okay. Now since we are thinking about animals, unisexual or dioecious term we use for the animals who have either only male reproductive structure or only the female reproductive structure. Okay, so there we use the term unisexual or dioecious. Okay, so example, all the mammals. Okay, so all the mammals are unisexual, where male reproductive structure and the female reproductive structure, we see it in two different organs. Okay, then the other terms: bisexual, monoecious. Here you see a new term, hermaphrodite. Okay, so these terms can be used when an animal, a single animal, has both male reproductive structure and female reproductive structure. So we can use the word bisexual or monoecious or hermaphrodite. So hermaphrodite is a term we use only for animals. So this can be again a 1 mark question. What are hermaphrodites? So I told you the animal which has both male reproductive structure and female reproductive structure. So example, earthworm, okay, leech. Okay, so these are the animals examples for hermaphrodites. Okay, so that's about the sexuality in animals. Next, what we are going to study is the cell division. Okay, what kind of cell division happens for the gamete formation? So cell division during gamete formation we will study. Now you know all the heterogametic organisms are producing male gamete and female gamete. So we have learned what are homogametes and heterogametes. Okay, so homogametes where you cannot differentiate, there is no possible differentiation between male and female gametes. Now I am speaking about heterogametes where male and female gametes are dissimilar morphologically. So in a heterogametic organism, male and female gametes are produced. Now how are these gametes produced? Okay, what type of cell division happens we will see. Now first thing you should keep in mind that gametes are always haploid. Okay, gametes are always haploid. Now keeping this in mind, now you know the organisms, okay, the parent body can be haploid or diploid. Now in the previous year syllabus you have studied about the meaning of haploid and diploid. Now the parent body, now for example, if you take algae, if you take bryophytes, if you take fungi, bacteria, okay, so the lower forms you will see that the plant, the parent body will be haploid. So let's see if the parent is haploid. Okay, so if the parent is haploid, parent body is haploid, what type of cell division may take place to produce gametes which are also haploid? Okay, parent body is haploid, so you know we represent it by N. Parent body is haploid. Gametes produced are always haploid. So when a parent body is haploid and the gamete also has to be haploid, what type of cell division takes place there? It is mitosis. Okay, you know mitosis is equational division. So when the parent body is haploid, mitosis takes place for the production of gametes. Now what about when the parent is diploid? You know we represent it by 2N. Now when parent is diploid, okay, what type of cell division takes place for the production of gametes which are haploid? Now see, parent body is diploid, gametes produced are haploid because gamete has to be haploid. Now what type of cell division may take place in this condition? Okay, so it is meiosis. Okay, so you know meiosis is reductional division. The daughter cells will have half the number of chromosomes. You know the difference between mitosis and meiosis. So meiosis is reductional division. So when parent body is diploid, that is 2N, then meiosis takes place for the production of gametes. Okay. Now in diploid organisms, the cell which undergo division to produce gametes, we call them as meiocytes. Meiocytes are nothing but the gamete mother cell. It is a cell which will undergo meiosis and produce the gametes. Okay, so meiocytes are gamete mother cell which undergo meiosis to produce gametes. Okay, so that is about the cell division which happens during the gamete formation. So now we finished with gametogenesis. Okay, next we are moving on to the second event under pre-fertilization events, that is gamete transfer. So we studied that male gametes are formed, female gametes are formed. Now for sexual reproduction, you know that there is a fusion of male and female gametes. So if fusion has to take place, these gametes which are formed has to be physically brought closer to each other. It is what we are going to study now. Okay, so before fertilization, these gametes, how they are brought closer to each other. Now, if you take example of certain algae and fungi, you will see that in those male gamete and female gamete, both will be motile. Okay, so motile means both can move. They have the locomotory structure. Okay, so in that case, both male and female gametes can move and fertilization happens. Now in algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, we will see that water is a medium through which these gametes are transferred. Okay, so gametes are released into water. Okay, and the male gametes have to move. They have to move in the water and has to reach the female gamete. Okay, so when water is the medium, okay, so water is a medium through which the gametes are into which the gametes are released. Now there is like one drawback there. All the male gametes which are released will not go and fertilize the female gamete, because you know that in the water current there is a possibility of loss of these gametes. So this loss, so the plant, they have to compensate this loss of male gametes. So usually what we see is where the plants depend on water for these gamete transfer, we will see that male gametes are produced in large number, almost like 1000 times more than the female gamete. So the reason behind this is, as I told, the male gametes as they are released into water, there is a possibility of loss of these gametes in water. So to compensate that loss, we see that the plants produce male gametes more in number. So that is about plants which depend on water for gamete transfer. Now what about in higher plants, in seeded plants? Now you know that pollen grains. Okay, so pollen grains will carry the male gamete. Okay, so now we are going to speak about the seeded plants or the angiosperms. So you know in these plants, pollen grains will carry the male gametes. Okay. So pollen grains will carry the male gamete, and inside the ovule we find the presence of egg. Okay, so pollen grains will carry the male gamete, and inside the ovule we find the presence of egg. Now there are certain plants which are we studied about the term bisexual. Okay, so you know bisexual flower. Okay, it's a plant, it's a flower which has both male and female reproductive structures. So when flowers which have go for self-pollination, okay, there you will see that the pollen grain has to just move to the stigma, because the male and female reproductive structures are closer to each other. Okay, so now as I told, pollen grains, okay, where are the pollen grains produced? So you know that the male reproductive structure, okay, the stamen, okay, and within the anther there will be pollen grains which are produced and it will be released. Now where is the ovule? The female reproductive structure. Okay, so if we take a flower, it has male reproductive structure which we call as stamen, and the female reproductive structure which we call as carpel, or you also know we call it as pistil. This is a stamen. Now here also the gametes has to be transferred, and where are the gametes? It is present in the pollen grains, and the pollen grains are inside this anther. the anther will break open, release the pollen grains. And the pollen grains which carry the male gamete, it has to come and fall here on the stigma. Okay. Now this transfer is easy in bisexual flowers. When we see the flowers which goes for cross pollination, okay, that is the pollen grain from one flower has to reach the stigma of another flower. So that transfer we call it as pollination. So pollination is nothing but the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to stigma. So once this transfer takes place, okay, as I told, it's easy in bisexual flower which goes for self-pollination. If it is a cross-pollinated, then this transfer is by means of different agents which will be starting in the further chapter, that is through wind or through insects. This movement, okay, or the transfer take place. So pollen grain has to go and fall on the stigma there. So as I told you, pollen grain contains male gametes. Now this male gamete has to reach here. Here is the ovule and inside the ovule there is egg. So what happens? This pollen grain will be producing pollen tube. Okay, so pollen grain will produce pollen tube which will carry the male gamete into the ovary, into the ovule, and the fertilization takes place. So this is how the gamete transfer takes place in higher plants. Now even in animals, majority of the sexually reproducing animals are dioecious. Okay, so in animals, since it's two different individuals having the different reproductive structures, the higher animals have evolved a process, a mechanism for the transport of these gametes. So in sexual reproduction, the transfer of these gametes is also a very important step, because if fertilization has to happen, the transfer has to take place, okay, in a proper way. So this is how the gamete transfer takes place in plants as well as in animals. Okay, so let's stop at this point and we'll continue in the next class. Thank you.